well. Hi everyone, thank you for waiting and apologies for the slight delay. We've had some technological issues on my behalf, but we're going to give it a minute or two now, just let everyone to get in and we will get started. So bear with us for probably 30 more seconds. We'll let the meeting kind of kick off and then we'll introduce you to our speakers today. Okay, so I think we're about there. So as I said, welcome to our Teacher and Advisor Conference. This is one of a series of talks that we are offering across the next few weeks and have we done for the last couple of weeks as well. I'm Nicola, I work at the University of Leicester. I am just here to introduce you really to Annie, who works at the Sutton Trust. And she brought along a couple of colleagues as well who'll introduce themselves, I'm sure, as we go on. But that's all from me. Annie, I will hand over to you to talk to us a little bit more about the benefits of progression programmes.
Perfect. Thank you, Nicola. And hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. So my name is Annie and I'm a Programmes Officer at the Sutton Trust. Today, we are joined by Johnny Tyndall, who is a Senior Programmes Manager at the Trust as well, and who looks after various programmes across the Trust. And we're also joined by one of our wonderful alumni, Tom Seddon, who is going to be telling you a bit about his experience of progression programmes and kind of bring to life what we're saying a bit more. So I guess, yeah, that's a bit about what we're doing. So we're going to be running through what progression programmes are, why there is need for them, and yeah, again, the kind of impact of that and how that works, as well as letting you know what support is out there for teachers and your students as well. So firstly, a little bit about us. So who are the Sutton Trust? So the Sutton Trust work to champion social mobility to ensure that every child, no matter their background, has equal opportunities in life. Since being founded in 1997, we've done this. So we're a really unique model where we deliver agenda setting research through from early years to the workplace. Our research helps to keep this at the top of the agenda, while our programmes help to tackle change on the transition into higher education and the world of work. So why does the Sutton Trust exist? So the facts on the screen are just some of the reasons why the Trust exists. Our research from 2006 found that social mobility in Britain was lower than in other advanced countries. And since then, we've been able to do lasting influence, meaning that social mobility is now at the heart of policy making and reform. As all of you are probably acutely aware, the pandemic has enhanced a lot of these challenges, and so our work is now more important than ever in ensuring that we are supporting our students. Since 1997, we've published more than 200 reports. We had over 20 government policies significantly influenced and supported over 40,000 students through our programmes. So why do we actually need progression programmes? Some of these figures, so these are just 3 figures on the board, but really highlight the need for progression programmes. There is a clear and persistent gap to higher education institutions in the UK, not only between the state and private sector, but also between the most and least advantaged students. This is particularly pronounced for leading universities in the UK. While some progress has been made in the last few years, the access gap for students in receipt of free school meals and those not is the widest it has been since 2006. Progression programmes help young people to make informed decisions about their next steps, give them the skills they need to navigate the higher education system, and increase their confidence so that they feel that they belong and can succeed academically and socially at university. So leading on from that, who do we target and what students do we want to work with? So we are looking to work with students who are high achieving, but also come from more socio-economically disadvantaged backgrounds. We released some research a couple of weeks ago with John Jerram that looked at what the most reliable markers for identifying students who are socio-economically disadvantaged. This found that the 2 most useful markers were eligibility for free school meals and ACORN. ACORN is a postcode classification similar to the index of multiple deprivation or POLAR, but is slightly more granular and works on a smaller level and takes into account other factors. And this removes some of the biases that other data sets have against people in urban centres, people in rented accommodation, single parent families, and Black students. We use a basket of measures, as you can see on the screen, to measure, to provide a more holistic view of students, as we know that no one measure can accurately encompass everything about an individual. So we work with these students to help them access leading universities and careers, helping them to raise and then realise their aspirations. I've also tagged on this slide the report, which should be sent around afterwards if you want to read a bit more about the ways of measuring this disadvantage. So the programmes that we run at the Trust. So we run all of our programmes to help support students into higher education and the workplace. All of our programmes are designed to increase student confidence, give them the skills needed to navigate the higher education sector or the workplace, and help them to make informed decisions about their next steps. Throughout all of these programmes, we focus on developing essential life skills for our students, including communication skills, confidence, motivation, and resilience, as evidence has shown that these are associated with better academic outcomes and better prospects in the workplace. Our UK summer schools are our flagship programme and work to address the access gap for highly able students from less advantaged backgrounds. On these programmes, students spend a week at a leading university of their choice, studying an academic subject of interest to them. Alongside this, they will receive information, advice, and guidance on how to apply and succeed at university and take part in social activities, helping them to feel more comfortable in a university setting, meeting other like-minded young people, current undergraduates, and university staff. The US programme partnership with the US-UK Fulbright Commission and allows students to explore US study with a week-long visit to the US and a calendar of events and activities in the UK. 40% of those students have subsequently gone on to study in the US, unlocking $122 million of financial aid. Our apprenticeship summer school is focused on helping students explore and secure degree-level apprenticeships. Apprenticeships have the potential to be really powerful vehicles for social mobility, as they can earn while they learn and develop skills that employers want. In addition, apprenticeships can earn up to £50,000 more over their lifetime compared to many graduates. This summer school gives students the chance to meet a range of employers, practice interviews and applications, and find out more about the range of apprenticeships on offer. Our pathways to the professions programmes are the ones listed at the bottom of the screen there, and they're run closely with university and corporate partners, aiming to support our students into competitive careers such as law, banking and finance, and medicine. Students receive mentoring and networking opportunities, residentials, and guaranteed work experience placements. Currently, the Pathways programmes support 800 students annually at local university hubs across England and Wales. In the Midlands, we run Pathways to Law at Leicester, Warwick, Nottingham, and Nottingham Trent. Banking and engineering we run at Warwick and Nottingham and Banking and engineering we run at Warwick and medicine we run at Nottingham. Since 2017, over 2,000 placements have taken place with our students. There are two programmes, one that is face-to-face that recruits regionally, and the digital ones recruit nationally. And finally, Sutton Trust is our brand new digital programme, which allows us to reach an additional 6,000 students a year who are still highly eligible for our programmes. This platform contains a 15-month digital programme to help students explore their post-18 options and help them to apply, prepare and succeed at university. On Sutton Trust Online, there are live webinars, there's static content, exclusive events, and the ability to chat to current undergraduates. And so a bit on our impact. So up on the screen, there are some facts to highlight the impact of our work at the Trust and the transformative difference that attending or being part of a progression programme can have on a student's life beyond school. This is supplemented by our findings that Sutton Trust students are 50% more likely to apply to a leading university, and in 2019, 4 times more likely to receive an offer from a top university. Progression programmes give students the opportunity as well as the confidence to be able to utilise those opportunities, which is why they're so important. And finally, just to bring all of this to life and really highlight the impact that progression programmes can have on a student, I'm now going to hand over to Thomas Seddon, who's going to tell you a bit more about his experience.
Thank you very much, Annie. And yes, first just to say thank you to everyone for attending today's webinar. So teachers, and I can say this through first-hand experience and also as an alumni, teachers really do play a crucial role in opening up this opportunities to young people, ensuring the trust is able to support as many students as possible. So as mentioned, my name is Tom, and I am part of the Sutton Trust alumni community, and I'm also part of the Trust Alumni Leadership Board, which I'll touch upon later on. Currently, I work as a policy advisor for the Department of Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, and before that, I was a teacher in Bradford after completing Teach First training programme. But most importantly, I'm an alumni from several of the Trust programmes, including the Pathways to Law Summer School, which is one of the Trust progression programmes. So a little bit of background about me. So I'm from Lancashire originally, and I lived in an area with a fairly low rate of progression to higher education, with both my parents not attending university. And I was a first generation, uni student from my family when I attended. And I was also eligible for free school meals. However, it is also worth noting that I did come from a background where education was seen as important. And I do feel quite fortunate because so many people do come from backgrounds where they perhaps don't get the support for education that they possibly need in order to succeed. But I was quite fortunate to have that push from home. My school, so I attended a fairly normal state-funded secondary school, which had good career support. It is worth noting that that support could be fairly generic, and I often found was more targeted at those people who already had an idea what university was like, either through parents attending or other family members. And for me, particularly as I was going through kind of like year 9, year 10, year 11, university sometimes still seemed a little bit elusive and a little bit mysterious, which is kind of where the Sutton Trust comes in. So thinking back, I probably heard about the Sutton Trust in around 2012. I was in year 11 and it was likely for an email chain, probably through UCAS or the Bright Network. I was one of those students who was signed up to as many careers emails as possible. And through that, I actually learned about the Trust progression programmes for the first time, such as the Pathways Summer Schools, as Annie's already touched upon, which students can complete when they're in year 12. For me, the definite attraction of the Summer Schools programmes was the opportunity to try before you buy. It is a chance to attend a good university for several days and see whether university was for me. University is a huge kind of financial commitment, not just for the person attending, but often for their families too. And being able to kind of make that decision with some evidence as to whether you think that you will sort of want to enjoy it and whether it's the right career path for you or the career route for you is so important. And taking part in the progression programmes enables that. So when I was in year 12, I applied for the Pathways to Law programme at the University of Nottingham. Unfortunately, I was successful. And looking back, that's probably the touch paper which kind of started my career. And the years after that have led me to where I am now. It all kind of started with the Pathways to Law Summer School. Looking back to the application itself, what I would say, kind of putting my old teacher hat on, is when students apply, encourage them to be as open as possible. After all, the trust can only judge what it sees on the application form. It won't know your students as well as you know them. So it's really important that students are as open as possible about their background experiences, just so the trust can be as helpful as them and ensure that they are getting the right support and that they are completing the right progression programme. For me, for example, I wasn't always that open to discussing my family's history. And I guess the social norms and social pressures, you don't really want to share so much information that might feel quite private. But actually, with teacher support and kind of with their guidance, I was able to be a bit more open and realize that the trust was there to, I guess, support me and help me on my career journey and not use the information I give them to view me in a negative way, which is so important. And that steer from teachers was really important to me. So thinking about the Pathways to Law programme. So opening up, I absolutely love Pathways to Law. And it's important to note that Pathways is more than just a summer school. Of course, the summer school is the flagship part, and that's what all of the alumni often talk about, even years after completing it. And that summer school, I'm hugely grateful for being able to attend it, to be able to experience student life. So I was able to stay on the University of Nottingham's campus, attend lectures and seminars, take part in networking and team building activities, and also engage in career support workshops. All costs, including travel, were covered by the trust. So again, that was one of the things which you might have worried about, particularly when I was a student, wasn't actually the cost of just the accommodation, but actually the cost of getting there. That was something which the trust also covered as well. And it's another barrier which is removed. So I had many highlights in the summer school, but a key one was definitely the opportunity to meet like-minded young people from across the UK. Often, if you're a young person, you only really get to meet the same people who are either in your school or kind of in your social group, and that can kind of skew your world view or your UK view of what other students are like. And for me, by actually being able to do the summer school and see students from across the UK, I was able to be a bit more open-minded and have a bit more of a broader perspective. And again, by meeting those different people, I was able to kind of create my own support network, and several of those people I'm still in contact with today. And yes, as mentioned, it did make me realise that if other people can do it, and other people can go to university, then so can I. Often the glass ceiling, which is kind of spoken about, and it's spoken about a lot of the times in the work that Sutton Trust does, it can be self-imposed, especially if you're a person whose family or parents haven't gone to university before. And the summer school did such a great job of kind of shattering that glass ceiling. And there were other perks of the summer school as well. So I met current undergraduate students and staff. And I also know that through the University of Nottingham, I was eligible for a slightly reduced UCAS offer. I know that not all universities do that with the Sutton Trust programmes, but that's definitely something for students who are thinking of applying to look into. Once kind of outside of the summer school window, the Sutton Trust still remained very supportive, often running careers activities and encouraging alumni to stay in contact with each other. There's also a mentoring scheme supported by Nottingham University, which I was able to take part in too. So that was year 12 over, and year 13 happened, and what happened next? So I decided to study law at university, so continuing kind of what I'd gained and the positive experiences from the summer school, and I successfully gained a place at Newcastle University, which is my first choice. The reason, which I've been asked before, is why didn't I choose Nottingham? Quite simply for me, I realised by going to Nottingham, I loved the course, I loved the university experience, but I was probably leaning more towards being at a city-based university, which is Newcastle, whereas Nottingham is a campus-based university. Again, that's another perk of try before you buy. I wouldn't have known that I prefer the city-based experience over the campus if I hadn't have been able to do the summer school. And it enabled me to kind of find that location that works for me. So I absolutely love my time at university, and the trust continued to stay in contact with me. There's kind of a running joke amongst the alumni, and that once you join the Sutton Trust alumni community, you can never leave. But that's one of the best things about it. And through them staying in touch with me, I completed other programs from the Sutton Trust, such as Pathways to Law Plus, which kind of builds upon the Pathways to Law progression program. And it enabled me to complete a week of paid work experience at a law firm in London. Again, an opportunity I probably wouldn't have been able to have if I hadn't completed Pathways to Law at the University of Nottingham. Again, whilst I was in London, the trust paid for my accommodation, my travel, and they ensured that there was always that support there if I needed it. And it was also one of the first times that I'd actually been down to London as well. So that was another experience to enjoy. I graduated in 2017 from Newcastle Uni, and I ended up completing a Teach First Teacher Development Programme, becoming a school teacher in Bradford. And I found my experiences as a Sutton Trust participant and alumni were invaluable. And it's probably one of the key reasons why I kind of entered teaching. because it allowed me to give back some of what the trust had given me, and able to kind of steer young people in my young community to make reasoned, considered decisions about their next steps and their future careers. I've seen how much guidance from the Sutton Trust and my teachers helped me in my career, and I wanted to be able to do the same for other young people too. The Sutton Trust champions mobility, but this can often only be achieved if their programs reach the young people that are hardest to reach. And that's why I think it's so important, and in all honesty, it's probably a responsibility of teachers to actually push these programs so that Sutton Trust can impact and kind of like break down those barriers for as many young people as possible. It was whilst teaching that I also developed an interest in educational policy, whether it was through the Sutton Trust work, but also different outlets and think tanks. And that led me to joining the civil service as a policy advisor, so I can see how policy is created and kind of have a different perspective. Currently, as mentioned, I work for the Department of Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, but at some point I would like to move into the Department of Education and kind of, use some of the experience I've had in the classroom and the Sutton Trust alumni and kind of bring them into my day job and, not just have an impact in my classroom, but also across policy for, lots of people in the country. So kind of summarising up, so the past 7 years, the Trust has supported me throughout. And as mentioned, once you're an alumni, you're definitely all an alumni. I have access to the online alumni network, which all alumni do, and that means you can access a range of online and in-person events within time. And for me, taking part in the Sutton Trust programme, particularly the progression programmes, it's all about the people that you meet. And that's probably the most worthwhile part of the programme. The Sutton Trust, it's kind of, as more people have done the programmes and grown stronger, strength has been in numbers, and that is why it's so important that Sutton Trust does continue to grow to help as many young people as possible. I sometimes describe the Sutton Trust alumni network as something like the high society kind of private networks of old, where you had to know someone to kind of get in there, and you had to have a special tap on the shoulder in order to be part of it. The only difference is being part of the Sutton Trust alumni community is that it's accessible to the masses, and that money, your financial background, and kind of your parents' background and disadvantages that you might have faced will not be something that holds you back. As a student, a teacher, and now the civil servant, I regularly come across Sutton Trust alumni, and that's something which we can always bond over, like a shared experience, and it's always a great conversation starter. Meaning that the impact of completing a Sutton Trust programme, such as Pathways to Law, long outlives the length of the programme itself. I will finish up there, but I'm quite happy to take any questions people might have. Thank you very much, Annie. Cheers.
Great, thanks so much, Tom. Does anyone have any questions for Tom? I know you've got to run off shortly, so we can take any questions you might have for Tom now. Or Tom, you may have answered everything perfectly. Stunned everyone into silence.
Do feel free to pop them in the chat as well if you'd rather not come on and talk on the camera. So if you have got any questions, then do feel free to pop them in the chat or indeed the Q&A box.
Great. Well, that was really, I think, yeah, really useful to hear from you, Tom, and actually get kind of someone a real life perspective on it. Because I think it's very difficult sometimes working with young people that you often forget why we're actually doing all the things because we're so busy in the day-to-day of how things are going. Okay, I'm not seeing anything coming through, so it looks like you have answered everything already. So thank you very much for your time. We'll let you go and get off to your next meetings.
Brilliant, thank you. And if you've got any more questions that do kind of come after this, please do feed them back to Annie and Johnny, and I'll happily, answer them later on. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great day.
Perfect, thank you. Great. Well, we will continue on. We've got a few more slides just to share on. We kind of talked a bit about the benefits of progression programs, some of the programs that the Trust have available, and we just wanted to talk a bit more about how you as teachers can support students once they're taking part in a program. So we know that teachers are a key factor in students applying to our programs. About 2/3 of students told us or tell us every year that they heard about the Sutton Trust through a teacher. So please continue to do that. That is a great opportunity, and we'd definitely suggest not kind of trying to guess which students might be interested in programs like this, telling them to everyone, because we know some students can often be overlooked for whatever reason. But if you do have students that you think will particularly benefit, please do definitely highlight the different programs that we have available. So the Pathways programs applications, they open in September. Applications for the US program normally run November to early January, and then the summer school applications, both apprenticeship and university summer schools, are open January to March. But so yeah, when students are on a program, there's some really great things that you could do to make sure that students are getting the most out of those. So firstly, I guess considering that first point of thinking about what students want to get out of it, and it can just be, want to find out a bit more about university, go to a new city, as Tom said, that is yeah, completely legitimate, but just making sure that students have thought about their aims and what their goals, so they can have a bit of a focus throughout their time on the program. Secondly, we ask if you can encourage students to actually attend. We always have students that drop out of programs for whatever reason, or on the longer term programs, those Pathways programs over 2 years, students that don't come to all the sessions. All of those events are designed to support them and give them different perspectives, different information that they'll need. So if you can know that students are on a program, encourage them to take part, take up those places. We'll actually hopefully be sending an email this week to all teachers who had students that applied to summer schools to let you know which students got a place on the summer school and which students unfortunately didn't get a place on that, but who we have offered a space on Sutton Trust Online, our new digital platform that Annie mentioned earlier. So once that comes through, please do have a look and speak to your students about those opportunities. Checking in. So yeah, if you've got students that are on those longer term programs, checking in as they go through it and finding out how they're getting on. It can be a really good way as well if you've got students lots of students that are on different programs. They don't all have to be Sutton Trust at all, doing different things for students to check in with each other, setting up a bit of a group for students that are thinking about applying to these sorts of programs, thinking about applying to university, where they can swap information, because every university is going to be slightly different. People's experience is going to be different. So making sure that you check in with students and students checking in with each other. And it's really important, I think, to reinforce here that the Sutton Trust and I think pretty much all progression programs aren't about saying this is the right university to go to, this is the wrong university to go to. We are about students making informed choices. So they can go to whichever university they might want to, like Tom was talking about one for his Sutton Trust program, and then apply to a different university. It is completely, it's the right thing to do for students to find out before they start paying student fees, what course they're into or what university they might like. And then finally, helping students reflect on their program or their time and their experiences. Did they get out what they wanted to get out of it? Maybe think back to those goals and aims they might have set. Is there anything else they now feel they need to explore that kind of sparked a change in them? Or is there anything they're still not sure about that they might need to do further research? So being that person, I know I don't want to put any more work on you, or probably extremely busy, but being those people that can support students would be great. And then we've got some other support for you. So we're not just asking you to do things. We have a program called Teach Champions that we run in partnership with Causeway Education. We have always worked closely with teachers on various different programs because we know how important you are in shaping students' prospects, ideas, horizons. And yeah, like I said, without your work, a lot of students wouldn't have heard about our programs. So as part of this, we have a ongoing webinar series, which is roughly once a month, so hopefully not too onerous, normally just an hour each on different topics. So the last one we did a couple of weeks ago was about making personal statements outstanding and how you can support students to do that. The upcoming session, which I believe is next Tuesday, we are talking about writing references, because we know, as we hear, this is often something that teachers struggle to do, not quite sure what kind of information needs to go in the reference to help support your students get those places that they're really keen on. So yeah, we've got those monthly tips and resources. You can also get access to an online personal statement builder for all students in your school, as long as you're teachers at the state school. You can have that, and students can use that. It's got loads of great stuff on it, and I'll talk about it in just a second, but we'll share the details of that. And then there's even some way for you to, through that, to moderate the personal statements and track where your students are. So hopefully it'll make it a bit easier for you and mean that you aren't rushing around 2 days before January 15th trying to work out who's done their personal statements and who haven't. So on this next webinar, we'll send these slides round, or you can find them on our website. If you search for Teacher Champions on the Sutton Trust website, you'll be able to find all of the upcoming topics for those webinars, and yeah, the links to sign up for them. So yes, this other source of support, so this is through our partners Causeway, who are running that Teacher Champions program with us. So Oscar is the online system for completing applications and references. It provides students with a pathway through their applications and provides specific advice for different subjects, and suggests places for students to do wider reading to make sure that their supercurricular section of their statement, which is the most important, is really clear and detailed. It allows you to give quick and easy feedback, and like I said, track progress. This is all based on research. We've done a number of trials and evaluations into this system, and we found 100% of students in the treatment group that were using this a few years back got offers from Russell Group universities, compared to 75%, I think it was, of the control group. So we can, again, you can email us on applications@suttontrust.com, or you can email info@causeway.education. That's info@causeway.education, and they can help you get set up with access for both you and your students. And then, yeah, there's just a few other progression programs we wanted to announce and just share. Hopefully you've heard of some of these. I won't go through them all now, but various programs run in various different parts of the country. Obviously, your local university or universities will also be running their own programs, some of which might be longer term and local, or others like our summer school or US program, which are nationally recruiting. So yeah, we've included links to all of those people there that are doing slightly different things in different parts of the country, that we weren't sure where people were coming from today, so included them all. I'm aware I've rushed through that quite quickly, but I know we've meant to be finishing up at 2. Does anyone have any questions about anything you've heard today, about any of our programs, and about yeah, kind of anything else that you might want to ask?
Would there, Johnny, Annie, would there be a specific message you'd want to kind of teachers to take away from today about progression programs? Now, I've only worked on progression programs for the past kind of 6 months or so. I've been kind of in the same team as people who ran them, but even then, I didn't know an awful lot about them. So what's the kind of the take home message, I suppose, to the teachers who are kind of in the audience today?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'd just say, as much as you can, encourage students to apply. For most programs, all of the Sutton Trust programs, for summer schools, there is no kind of personal statement or no reference needed from teachers. So for that program, which supports almost 3,000 students each year, all the students need to do is fill out an application form with some basic information about themselves. So there's like very little to lose in a way by applying. I know it can be scary sometimes, but finding those opportunities and encouraging students to take them But I think also linked to that is, I know it's difficult, but trying to speak to students earlier on in their life cycle of their time in sixth form or college. So potentially when they're even coming into year 12, talking to them about what their ideas and what their hopes are, because for some courses that might need some work experience, students will need to start thinking about that early, and it can be quite stressful if it gets to September of year 13 and you're trying to do 150 students in your year and trying to get them all to get their personal statement, their UCAS off, and trying to find those last minute opportunities. So starting early and encouraging people, I think, would be my biggest takeaways. Any other questions that people might have? Or if not, we can...
There's nothing else coming through. I think you've done a really comprehensive presentation there, kind of about the different routes in, and obviously I think it's the sheer width and breadth of opportunities is amazing.
Yep. So yeah, please, if people do have any questions for the Sutton Trust, you can email us there. You can find out about all of our programs on our website. And like I said, do encourage your students to apply because there's very little to lose. And we hope to see some of your students on our program soon, and we hope to see you at some of our Teacher Champions webinars that will hopefully provide you with a bit more in-depth detail on supporting students as they progress from school into higher education.
Brilliant. And if anyone's got any questions, obviously, about progression programs at Leicester, do feel free to get in touch with us as well directly, and we can sort of talk through what we're able to offer. Right, thank you both very much. My computer keeps freezing, so hopefully I'll be able to press the end button. But thank you ever so much for your time, Johnny and Annie, and obviously thank Thomas for us as well.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nicola.
Thank you.